If you want to build an impressive physique, your training needs to develop your entire body, not just the same areas again and again. You could be doing plenty of exercises and still have major gaps in your training because the exercises you're doing are effectively doing the same job. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 8 exercise categories that we use with our clients and that you can use to build the foundation of your training and create a well-rounded, impressive physique without wasting time on exercises you don't need. Now, when it comes to the 8 categories, it's very simple. We break it down in upper lower. 4 upper, 4 lower. For upper, we're looking at horizontal push-pull and vertical push-pull. Horizontal push looks like pressing, bench press, machine press, dumbbell press. You want to choose what exercise is most comfortable for you and what you most enjoy. For me, it's a machine press. When it comes to horizontal pulling, it's anything that's the pulling motion that builds your back, builds that width. So it could be a cable row, a machine row, it could be a barbell row or a dumbbell row. Well, when it comes to vertical push, you're building your shoulders. That can be a dumbbell shoulder press, it can be a barbell overhead press, it could even be a machine shoulder press. It's really whatever suits you best. But again, it's that motion of pressing upwards, building your shoulders. When it comes to vertical pull, think lat pull down, or it could be a pull up if you're more into bodyweight exercises. When it comes to the lower portion, your legs, we want to look at hip dominant squat and a knee dominant squat. So what does that look like? Something that's more hip dominant, you want to think a barbell squat. When it comes to something that's knee dominant, think a goblet squat or a front squat. I typically will use a goblet squat with my heels elevated for the knee emphasized movements because that helps build your quadriceps more, gives you that fuller leg. When it comes to the other portion, posterior chain, that's the lower side, the back side of your body. You can look at things like a hip hinge movement or a knee flexion movement. A hip hinge movement is something like a Romanian deadlift. And you can see that clearly here where the hip is hinging forward. As well as that, when you're looking at knee flexion, it's anything that is a hamstring curl, either doing that lying down or seated. And there's machines that you can use for that. So the simplest way to use this 8 category framework to audit the way you're currently programming your work exercises is to write down every exercise you currently perform across the week. Then next to each exercise, assign to each one of these categories, those 8 categories. For example, your bench press would sit under horizontal push. Your seated cable row would be under horizontal pull. Pull-ups would be a vertical pull, and Romanian deadlifts would be your hip hinge movement. And once you've categorized everything, look at how often each category appears. And this is where you may realize that what looked like a varied program is actually quite repetitive. You might have a bench press, a dumbbell press, and a chest press machine. And whilst those are 3 different exercises, they're performing a very similar role. You're using your chest across all of them. Meanwhile, you might not have any vertical pressing movement at all. So you're not leaving any room to develop your shoulders. When you audit your program, you want to look for these 3 things. You want to see if are any of those 8 categories completely missing. Secondly, are you unnecessarily repeating one category through very similar movements? And thirdly, are the exercises you've chosen actually suitable for your progress over time? And I'm not saying you need to have an equal number of those exercises across each category, and you don't need to perform all 8 in a single workout, but the goal is simply to make sure that across your training week, every major function is being trained and there's no obvious gaps. So just to add on to that, I know I didn't cover arms or abdominals as such in those 8 categories. I look at them as additional work. If you have priorities to build your shoulders or have much more well-rounded, cap delts, then include extra arm work. You can include extra bicep movements, extra tricep movements, or extra shoulder movements, depending on your physique goals and your priorities. But those 8 categories across horizontal push-pull, vertical push-pull, when it comes to lower body, hip dominant squat, knee dominant squat, and hip hinge patterns, as well as knee flexion patterns, are what will help you develop that well-rounded physique over time.